This is the first cut, and let's try to make it the one and only, because we don't want to play with randomness. And this is gonna be the NeoGo department this time that we are starting with. The big release of NeoGo that was announced in the previous episode and that all of you have waited for is finally here. It was released in early December, somewhat behind the schedule that we had planned for it originally, because in fact, developing the NeoFS block fetching scheme and especially the block uploading scheme that we are providing with this release, it's all available for you now, we have found some issues in NeoFS itself. So we had to really spend some time to debug these because it wasn't really obvious initially that these are the NeoFS problems and not the uploader or fetcher problems that we are dealing with. So it took us really substantial time to dig down to the roots of these problems, and there were several of them, and we have updated NeoFS with the respective fixes that I'll be talking about in the next section. But anyway, we have now NeoGo that can fetch blocks from NeoFS and actually can upload blocks to NeoFS, which is a significant milestone in our overall scheme that we are going to implement with the blocks stored in NeoFS and also state stored in NeoFS, because we want to synchronize nodes from NeoFS and not use the local storage for data that we can actually remove from the node. So it's one of the things for the tail cutting that we are providing with NeoGo already, but at the same time we are not providing all of the things that we want to provide there. We are going to be doing more. And the next thing that we are going to be exploring in the NeoGo department is actually creating and storing storage, or actually state snapshots. So this is the next big thing for us in this area, and we are going to be providing more functionality with the next release of NeoGo. NeoFS 0.44.0 was released in the end of November, and it has a huge changelog as well. Most of the items there are commands improvements and some configuration improvements, and actually one of the important things there is the config validation that we currently have in the node. We had this in NeoGo for quite some time, and we have finally found a scheme to implement this in NeoFS node because it uses somewhat different configuration. And it was a pretty important change for us as well, because this allowed us to uncover some of the problems that we had in configuration and basically some forgotten settings that are, not active for the last 2 years or something like that are no longer relevant and no longer work, but we still had some them in the configuration for unknown reasons, things like that. So NeoFS currently has a bit more stronger model for its configuration because of these changes, and that's a very nice long-term improvement that we have in this release. But also they have fixed some problems that we have encountered during the NeoGo development of the block uploader mostly. And these were really bad ones that you don't want to have in the production system, that were leading to incorrect data stored or even, incorrect replies from the node. So uploading blocks into NeoFS was a really nice stress test, because we currently have some containers with millions of objects in the NeoFS mainnet that store these blocks that we have for mainnet, testnet, and also NeoFS mainnet and testnet. And this was a really nice stress test for the system. Not that we never done any stress tests before, but somehow this one was somewhat different. We have found some new problems there, and luckily all of them are currently fixed, so you can grab this new release of NeoFS and use it. So what's the next on our roadmap here is mostly metadata, because we are currently working with the new scheme to deal with the container metadata that we have in the system, but currently it's all distributed, but we want to have some more consistent view of the metadata for various purposes, especially for the S3 gateway. So this new scheme, already some parts of it are included in the release of NeoFS 0.44.0, but these components are currently not active. And we have more of these systems already present in the contracts, and now we are integrating into the nodes. So all in all, I think we are gonna have this data in this scheme implemented by the next release, 0.45.0. So expect a better NeoFS in this area. Also, we are currently working on the decentralized setting management. This is the inner ring node functionality that we are gonna be expanding, because you don't want to know how we change some settings in NeoFS currently. But what we want to do is to have the scheme with transactions created by the inner ring nodes and push to the notary pool. You know what the notary pool is, because that's the NeoGo feature that we of course want to reuse for this feature of the inner ring. And then other inner ring nodes would basically approve these configuration changes or some parameters or whatever, and sign this transaction and push it to the pool. Then it's gonna be processed like the regular transaction in the Neo N3 network. REST gateway was updated to 0.11.1 release, and it's mostly just some minor bug fixes. But if you are using REST gateway that is not public, because you may be running some private REST gateway for your own purposes, it's time to upgrade. One of the things that was pending for us for quite some time already, and we actually wanted to do this since probably May, when we got the results of the DBFT tests with low block times that we have published here. And we want to have lower block times in NeoFS public networks. This will allow to perform some operations faster, like container creation. Currently, you have to wait for a full block, which it can be 15 seconds. And it's a little longer than you probably want to wait for container to be created, and like EACL updates are the same here, some other operations as well. So we are going to push these networks down to 1 second block time, and we know it's going to work there. At the same time, we were delaying these shifts because we had not previously implemented any of the block storage that we currently have implemented in NeoGo. So these are related topics, because we don't want our nodes to explode because of these bigger block numbers that we are gonna have when we to bring this consensus time down. At the same time, currently we can do some optimizations on the NeoGo side already, and we are gonna be doing more of the things there as well. So I think it's good time for us in the next 2 months to find some slot and reconfigure our networks already and have more fun with lower block times. So stay tuned. As we are approaching the end of the year, I also wanted to say thanks to all of the users of NeoFS and all of the people that are building projects using NeoFS, because this year we have rolled out the panel for users and also have implemented some significant changes to the REST gateway and removed the HTTP gateway that we had for quite some time, duplicating REST in many ways. So I think this overall have simplified interaction with NeoFS, both for ordinary users and developers, that also allowed some new projects to try using NeoFS, and we've seen some projects over this year using NeoFS more and more. And I can say that we also currently have around 4 times more containers in NeoFS than we had a year ago, and about 10 times more data than we had a year ago. So I think overall it was a nice year for NeoFS, but of course we are looking forward for even more usage next year.